Well, hello again. It's another episode of Southern Mamas Be Like. I'm Eva Marie Everson, and I am about to be joined by my good friend, Jane G. Conturlong.
Hello again.
Hello.
We've been having fun reminiscing.
Yeah,
about
we've
our
been talking in
Southern
between
mamas.
because we record all these we record like four at a time. So, but we've been talking in between and just having too much fun talking about the advice our mothers gave us when it came time to date. So, Jane, you start.
Well, Mama always said, now you can't do this anymore, but some cars you can. But she would peek out of the window and make sure the gentleman opened the door for me.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
That was huge.
Yeah.
So, but the trick was if his door was locked, and she said, always lean over and open the door.
Yeah.
And that just says that, you have good manners.
Sure.
And on the other side of the coin, my brother was told, if you are dating someone and you open the door and she gets in and she doesn't reach over and pop that little silver.
Oh, yeah. Back in the day. Yeah.
Then that's your last date.
Ooh.
Yeah.
How about it?
That she was very particular. And the other thing Mama told me was if you meet his mother quickly, and she said, watch how he interacts with his mother, because that is how he will treat you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That was some advice. How about you?
Well, I got the advice. Well, first of all, I was not allowed to date until I was 16, but I started dating at 14 because my parents, yeah, I know. But this young man, I met him at a church event, and I mean, he was 17. Woo! He was 17 to my 14. But came from a wonderful family. He was an honest to goodness, solid Christian, treated me like a gentleman. We dated off and on all through high school, was nothing but a gentleman the entire time. He is still a wonderful friend. He and his wife just had their first grandchild. So, I mean, we're still good friends. I just adore his wife, adore his daughters. And so anyway, that's a whole other story. But it was, the whole, not until you're 16 and here I am 14. But everything that we did, we had to do with other couples and at church events and things like that. And then one time he wanted to take me to a movie, and we had a drive-in. We used to have a movie theater, and now we have a drive-in. And so he actually went and asked permission from my parents to take me to this movie that everybody wanted to see, And so my father said, you go straight there and straight back. And I'm telling you, I bet my mother was driving like 3 cars behind us. If I know her, she was going to make sure we behaved. And we did. But the other thing, I mentioned this earlier, it was 11 o'clock was your curfew. And what she used to do to all of my boyfriends, but it started with this young man, as soon as they walked in the door, my mother was pulling a cake out of the oven. Oh. And she would say, now, if y'all make it back in time, come on in and have a piece of cake. Well, my mother made the most delicious cakes. So I was home before anybody else got home because my dates wanted to come in and have a piece of cake. So that was always a little trick that she had. And then finally, it was that, once you pulled up in the driveway, he better get out of that car and come around and open the door for you. And you better be to that door and inside the house like this. Because if you sit out in the driveway, people are going to talk.
Oh, yeah.
And so I remember one time I had a date. I can still tell you his name was David. He has since passed, and just a wonderful friend, but it was not a date. It was just the two of us were going to a movie in Savannah. There was supposed to be a whole group of us. Everybody dropped out the last minute, just ended up me and David. And there was something going on in his life. I think there was a girl he liked or something. And on the way home, we're talking all about it. And we get to the, drive up in the driveway, and we're still talking. And he puts the car in park, and I'm all the way up against the door, the passenger door. He's all the way up against the driver's door. Turn to each other, just talking, because we were just friends. And sure enough, the light starts.
Oh, that's the blinky, yeah.
And then I see my mother looking, out the window, and I was like, oh, I better go in. So, of course, I walked in, and she said, now, I don't like that. And I said, Mother, we were just sitting there talking. I said, you saw us. I mean, you could see us. I was on one side of the car. He was on the other. She says, I know, but people will talk. And I thought, nobody's awake.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Well,
but she was looking out for my
reputation. Yeah, if you lose your reputation, then and Mama would point, she'd say, she's got a bad reputation. Boy, they'd point out those girls that messed up, and even
and we were not allowed to hang with those girls.
Oh no.
You don't need to be with her.
She said, Mama would say, once you get a bad reputation, Ajax can't take it off. It takes generations.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a boy that you liked and they didn't?
Oh gosh.
Oh boy, that was death. I had
that was
that was bad. So my guy, and I won't say his name, but he was taking me to the prom, and so Daddy would always pull the big glass window curtain that was our backdrop,
right?
And formal dress.
Oh yeah.
We're standing there smiling, and Daddy said, "Son, could you move to the left a little bit?" "Yes, sir." "Oh, could you move just and Daddy, a little bit more?" "Yes, sir." "So just couple, inches."
Yeah.
"Mr. Jenkins, if I move any more, I'm not going to be in the picture." He said, "Yeah, that's the point."
So,
Daddy,
we want you out of this picture as soon as possible.
Yeah, the prom. So, So I had a couple of those. So,
Well, for me, it was, we had an exchange student from another country. And, I was, of course, just absolutely mesmerized by his accent. I don't remember the country now, but I want to say it was Honduras.
Mm-hmm.
And he was obviously a Latin fella, very nice. His sister had married a local pastor. And so, he was a church going boy. But I think my mother was more concerned that if this went anywhere, I was going to end up leaving the country.
Oh, yeah. We've had that.
And so, yeah. And so one time he came over listen, our conversation was slim and none. I didn't know Spanish much, and he wasn't that great with his English. So most of the time we were looking up words in the dictionary. So this didn't last very long. But he came over to watch television. And I remember we were watching a repeat of Gilligan's Island in the middle of the afternoon. And he just draped his arm like on the back of the sofa, just like guys do. My mother pitched a fit. And I thought, my word, I mean, the other guy I just got through telling you about, I mean, I've held his hand in the house and had my arms locked around him for photographs. And you didn't care, but and he wasn't even touching me. But no, she was not a happy camper. And then there was one other guy, and you know what? I absolutely adored this young man. But looking back, I can understand why my mother didn't like him.
Yeah,
I get it. I think he was a little bit of a bad boy, not a lot of a bad boy, but just enough. And I think she had that innate.
Yeah. Well, even Marie, isn't it weird sometimes the good girls are attracted to those bad boys?
It's just, and our mamas are just protecting us. That's all.
I can think of lots of my friends that were so good, so much better than me, and yet all of a sudden they're dating the bad boy. But it's not to marry the bad boy. It's just to do maybe something a little more adventurous and
just
not awful. I would never think of them like that, but they just wanted an adventure. And I kept reminding myself of that when, I knew Caroline would start dating, but she didn't date a lot. She just, I don't know what it is with this generation. And probably it's a good thing that they kind of latch on to, it's good to have a variety.
Yeah.
She never dated a bunch of different people.
Yeah.
I did.
My daughters didn't either. Not like we did, but we were all friends. And I think that's the difference. We were just all hanging out together. And then, sometimes you go, oh, I kind of like him, and then you had the whole bracelet or the ring, if you had his class ring, well, that was, and let me just tell you, because my little 17-year-old that I told you about, he was a senior in high school and I was wearing his ring, and that was something to behold when you were still in junior high. Yes.
Oh, that's a badge of honor, girl. When you can land.
I'm telling you. Yeah. And I remember my mother saying, what does this mean? And I was like, oh, it just means we're going together, but remember melting wax and dripping it into the ring so it would fit on your finger. And I had a purple scented, I don't know, whatever it was, maybe, I don't know, grape, I guess, but I called it a purple scented candle that I would drip into that ring. And so I still, anytime I smell grape, I think of Robin's.
What's so funny? Remember the ID bracelets.
Yeah.
Such a big deal. So one of my beaux gave me his ID bracelet.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we didn't stay together. He went on to incredible school, and I think he became a city attorney for Charleston. And I had children, and I was cleaning out a drawer, and I found it with his name on it.
Oh my.
And so I called him, and I hadn't seen him in 20 years. And the children were little at the time. And I drove downtown Charleston and went in there and gave him his ID bracelet. Of course, he was married, and he just could not thank me enough. But I couldn't throw it away. Something so special to him. And I'm so glad I did that, because that just, it was special to me, and a memory I'll never forget. And I hope it would be special always to him. And I loved his family. They were both doctors.
Oh yeah.
Funny people. I'll have to tell you this funny story. I went up, they lived right on LaGree Street, downtown Charleston, in a beautiful house, and they had built, and not many old homes you just renovate, but they built a beautiful house, Charleston brick. I never forget that. Well, his dad was a wonderful doctor, and his mother, I think she was an anesthesiologist, but so he was grilling steaks under an oak tree. Well, we sat down to eat, and there was this gravy, and there was this leaf floating in the gravy. Now, I knew nothing about bay leaves. I didn't know what that was, but I jumped up and said, "Oh, Dr. blah, blah," I won't say his name. "I guess a leaf fell in your gravy under the tree." We had a big family, and you could have heard a pin drop, and they all stared at me. And that sweet doctor saved me. He said, "Well, darling, if it means that much to you and you love it that much," he scooped it out and put it on my plate. I will never forget the way I was saying, "Oh no," I stepped in at the time. And then he made it funny. So I never forget going, "There's a leaf in the gravy."
Oh no, your mama hadn't talked about bay leaves yet.
Told that little country girl doesn't know anything. That's how I felt going downtown.
We'll have to talk about recipes next time.
Oh, we got to do that. Well, thank you, darling. This has been fun.
Bye for now.
Signing off.